Tua Tagovailoa, who I affectionately referred to as Tua Star when he was in high school. Gordy, we'll start with you. We saw Tua at a couple different camps. He flew over from Hawaii to come to the Rivals camp, did pretty good at the quarterback challenge, won an award. But we didn't have him as a 5-star, and kind of seeing him live and seeing his arm, I don't think any of us were really super enamored, even though we did rank him pretty high.
Yeah, the thing that I always loved about Tua was that he made every throw look super easy, and he never seemed to struggle at any time. He never really had a bad 7-on-7 game. I saw him a ton in 7-on-7. He was at a tournament in Vegas, a lot in California, and then he did our camp circuit, I think, for 2 years. So we saw a lot of him. Made all the throws look very, very easy. What kind of reserved me on Tua was that he didn't really look all that impressive physically. He wasn't that big. He was probably a shade under 6 feet. And at that time, we were super down on quarterbacks that were that short. He was a lefty, which Mike could speak to, which we're not super, super crazy about. And so what we also didn't want to do is just say, any quarterback from Hawaii who, after Marcus Mariota, needs to be a 5-star quarterback without question. So there were some reservations. Probably we overthought it a little bit too much. But he was a kid that really in college made himself look much more athletic than he did in high school, because he wasn't this physically gifted quarterback in high school. You could take a look at the pictures, but every throw, short, middle, deep, looked great. And he always looked like that. So, he was, I think, our third dual threat quarterback in that class. I would kill to redo that and make him at least second. I'm not going to mention the name of who's number 2. But in our defense, he was not this surefire 5-star looking quarterback like a Trevor Lawrence or somebody else.
But he did finish as a number 53 player in that class. And I think he was a guy that the more we watched him, the more we appreciated what he brought to the table. Because like you said, first impressions, not overwhelming. He's no Tate Martell there, is he, Adam Corning?
I said don't mention.
Definitely no Tate Martell.
And I saw him at the Army. He was a guy that the more you watched just the little things that he did well, the way he was able to feel the pocket, step up, make throws, keep his eyes downfield, the more we watched him, the more we appreciated what he brought to the table.
Mike, when it came down to it at the end there, I don't remember there being a heavy debate. I remember you we talked a lot about Tate, and Tate was one of those guys that was giving you nightmares about whether you were going to be right or wrong on. So do you remember the final discussion on Tua?
Yeah, I think Gordy brainwashed me on Tate.
I tried, guys. I tried.
He freaking wore me down. He just did. And then I started buying into the Kool-Aid, drinking the Kool-Aid. And Tua, listen, everybody knows I'm not a big lefty quarterback fan. I think it's just historical. The last really good one as far as a passer was Steve Young. And I guess, you could say Mark Brunell and Michael Vick and those guys had success, but, different levels. The ball comes off usually a little bit odd, but he had a really good throwing motion for a lefty. And I just think he didn't overwhelm you with his physical skills. And I think he went into the right situation with the right receivers and the right offensive line and the right running backs. And I think at Alabama, he killed it. I don't think he's a guy who would take a team on his shoulders that didn't have that much talent, which is why, with the injuries, I'm really confused as to why he's going to be a top 5 pick.
So that was one of the things that I remember us talking about was at the time you mentioned Marcus Mariota, Gorney. Wasn't the Oregon coaching staff like down on him at the time and was kind of telling anybody who would listen that he wasn't a priority for them?
Tua?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tua at first wanted to go to Oregon. He was kind of following in Mariota's footsteps. He really liked the offense there. And then they kind of, I don't know if cooled is the right word on him, but didn't come after him as much. And so it became a USC-Alabama battle. And USC really, really wanted him. They loved him. And it looked like the feeling was that USC was going to win out. Then he takes that visit to Alabama. had an outstanding time. They took him to church there. The outside of football was super important to him and still is. And so I think that's going to be a factor too. But, as we go into this draft too, there are all those questions about, does he have that dog mentality? Could he make it in the SEC? And, he is an interesting personality because he's laid back like a lot of Hawaiian kids are, but super competitive once he steps on the field. So it was definitely an interesting pick because for a long time, Alabama was really not in the picture. It felt like a USC-Oregon battle. Then it felt like a USC-Alabama battle with USC leading. And then he ended up at Alabama, which was a perfect situation for him. I mean, USC has had some good receivers over the last few years, but, nothing like Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith. The offensive line that he's played behind, he would have never found at USC. He would have been running for his life like Sam Darnold did. And then the running backs that they've had at Alabama. So it was a perfect situation for him.